It all started with a rumor. Like most urban legends, this one whispered through the hallways of schools, around campfires, and on late-night internet forums. It was said that a particular Chuck E. Cheese, located on the outskirts of a small town, was haunted, not just by any ghost, but by the spirits of children who had disappeared there decades ago. The Chuck E. Cheese in question had been built in the 1980s during the chain's expansion. It had the usual setup: arcade games, animatronic shows, and the signature pizza that tasted better to a child's palate than it did to an adult's. But there was something off about this place. It felt colder than it should, even in the summer. The lights flickered more than normal, and the animatronics seemed to move when no one was around. In 1985, 5 children disappeared from the Chuck E. Cheese. They were last seen entering the play area, but they never came out. The local authorities searched the building from top to bottom, but found no trace of the kids. The case went cold, but the parents never gave up hope, posting flyers and holding vigils year after year. The Chuck E. Cheese closed down shortly after the disappearances. The franchise didn't want the negative press, and the building was left abandoned. Over the years, it became a popular spot for urban explorers and thrill seekers, each claiming to have seen or heard something supernatural within its walls. 35 years later, in 2020, a new owner bought the building and decided to reopen it. The town had grown, and he saw an opportunity to revitalize the area. Despite the protests from the locals who remembered the tragedy, the new Chuck E. Cheese opened its doors with much fanfare. The opening night was packed. Families came in droves, excited to see the revamped play area and arcade games. The animatronics had been refurbished, and Chuck E. Cheese himself looked better than ever. But as the night wore on, strange things started to happen. It started with the lights flickering. At first, everyone thought it was just a power surge, but then the animatronics began to move erratically. They would start their programmed dance routines, then freeze mid-motion. Their eyes would follow guests around the room, and some swore they heard whispers coming from the speakers, not part of any song or announcement. A young girl named Emily was the first to notice something truly terrifying. She had wandered into the old, abandoned part of the building that had been cordoned off. She swore she saw a little boy, dressed in 1980s clothes, standing in the shadows. When she called out to him, he vanished. Emily ran to her parents, crying and shaking. They tried to comfort her, telling her it was just her imagination. But as the night went on, more children started seeing things: a little girl in a party dress, a boy with a balloon, children that seemed out of place and time. The next day, the new owner received a flood of complaints and reports of the strange occurrences. Desperate to save his investment, he hired a team of paranormal investigators. They arrived with their equipment, ready to debunk or confirm the rumors once and for all. The investigators set up cameras, EMF meters, and audio recorders throughout the building. As they reviewed the footage, they found strange anomalies: shadowy figures darting across the rooms, unexplained cold spots, and disembodied voices. One investigator, Lisa, decided to dig deeper into the history of the building. Lisa found the old case files of the missing children and realized the eerie similarities between their descriptions and the children that guests had seen. Determined to uncover the truth, she spent a night alone in the building, hoping to make contact. That night, Lisa heard whispers calling her name. Following the voices, she was led to a hidden door behind the stage. It led down to a basement that wasn't on any of the building's blueprints. As she descended, the air grew colder, and the whispers grew louder. In the basement, she found old, dusty toys and drawings, evidence that children had been there. And then she saw them, the ghosts of the 5 missing children, their eyes pleading for help. They revealed that they had been trapped there by a malevolent spirit that had lured them away and kept them hidden. The spirit, a former employee who had died in the building, appeared, furious that Lisa had discovered his secret. He tried to trap her too, But the children formed a protective circle around her. They begged her to help them move on, to free them from the spirit's grasp. Lisa knew she had to act quickly. She recited prayers, called upon any good spirits to aid her, and used every trick she knew to weaken the malevolent entity. The building shook, lights exploded, and the animatronics went haywire. The spirit fought back, but the collective power of the children's spirits and Lisa's determination proved too much. With a final scream, the spirit was banished, and the children were freed. They thanked Lisa before fading away, finally at peace. The Chuck E. Cheese closed down for good after that night. The new owner, shaken by the events, decided to demolish the building. In its place, a memorial park was built, dedicated to the memory of the 5 children who had disappeared. The town never forgot the tragedy, but they took comfort in knowing that the spirits had been laid to rest. The story of the haunted Chuck E. Cheese became a cautionary tale, a reminder that sometimes the past never truly leaves us. But every now and then, late at night, some people still swear they hear the faint sounds of laughter and music coming from where the Chuck E. Cheese once stood, a lingering echo of the spirits that once haunted its halls.